We're live. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I don't have your name bars up. And look, we're not even. David, you're me today.
Okay.
If that's all right.
You're handsome, guy.
Mark Wagner.
Yeah. We have the shiny. We have the shiny one, James. We've got the not so much also shiny
The
one.
silver guy.
The silver guy, David. He's got it on top.
He's pre-silver. It's like this is before it turns silver.
It's so awesome. Like on my monitor here and the reflection in the window, I see nothing but like glittering gold. I feel like I've won.
You won the Wonka prize.
The Wonka, the
Wonka
golden ticket. I get to go to the chocolate factory. We're in the tooth factory today. So
here we are.
It's even better.
Welcome to our tooth factory for the day.
For the day
with Mr. David Nuber and James Nuber. How are you guys today?
Amazing. Yeah, love it. Pumped for the PDC coming
Pumped.
up.
It's a big week.
It's a huge
Well,
week.
we haven't had this show in 3 years.
Yeah, you're going to see a new level of excitement.
So what's the? Am I totally spiking? I'm like screaming into the mic.
You are. It's fine.
Happy
like
right
I'm always on the verge of almost figuring out this setup. It's an ongoing project of mine, but
so it's a big week.
It's a huge week.
PDC is happening in what? 3 days? What is it? Monday?
You know, it's crazy. I remember we were talking to a couple of our colleagues and saying, you know, is this project going to be ready? And this was at Christmas time.
Oh yeah.
And the project is not ready.
You guys want to see my impression of watching a Monday go by?
Yeah.
What just happened?
Was that Monday or was that a week? What happened?
Both, all of the above. So I'm supposed to make everybody fight today.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, it does bump up our views if we start fighting. So I think it's a good idea.
The folks love drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like the UFC.
That's right. Yeah. There won't be any fisticuffs, but let's get into.
This is the last guest I had on that tried to pick a fight with us.
That's right. Well, he didn't pay his bills or whatnot. That's just saying. Yeah, they used his skull. We're going to get into the discussion of chairside milling.
Ooh.
This is a really interesting topic to talk with a laboratory versus somebody in a clinical setting. The point of view that you hear varies. And now we all know the folks that have purchased the chairside mill and it's collecting dust to the clinician that's actually using the chairside mill with some success. We'll say some success because we're with friends here that this does affect. So what we want to get into today is now what is the best end result for the patient, because we're all here because of the almighty patient. So
it's the quality of the end product.
That's right.
Yes.
That's ultimate patient care. That's
right.
The goal, and that's never been a sacrifice with any professional that we all interact with. That's the end goal. So if everybody can lead to that point of having a treatment, hallelujah.
And who would argue with that? Aren't we all here for the patient?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right. So, you know what I know there is some motivations of people to conquer technology, to challenge themselves. And now, Tyler, you've been in the sales game.
Been in the game for a while.
Been in the game for 10 years, and you do have some firsthand experience in, guiding somebody through that process and then eventually coming into that decision to have that chairside mill. Mm. I'm going to start with you, my friend. Yeah, how does that conversation go?
What are the key motivations?
And how is somebody using that tool successfully?
Yeah, I mean, it's a long conversation, right? So now, I'm going to preface this by saying, obviously, Dave and James, you guys are amazing clients of mine on the Henry Schein side of the business. So I'm going to preface that right away.
He was really worried. He's got a lot of before
Don't worry, Tyler. We love you no matter what.
Before this, this conversation happened, Tyler's like, I don't want to be the bad guy. I don't want to be the bad guy.
No, but it is a conversation that's it's staring us all right in the face. And it's not a new conversation. It's been around for well over a decade, 15 years, 20. I mean, if you go look at CEREC, we're going back 30 years,
since
right?
the 80s.
Yeah.
Since the 80s. So this conversation is not a new one. It's evolved into a new conversation about indications. What's the end result? What do you need this for? What could a chairside mill possibly provide for you that you're not getting from your laboratory? So that's typically where I start the conversation, and I say, let's at least investigate what's happening with you in your laboratory. Let's see if there's something, maybe there's something there in that world that you're not, that hasn't been educated, you haven't been educated on, or just sort of sussing out every avenue first before diving into it. Because as most clinicians who have invested in chairside milling, scanning, any of that technology, there is a high price point to get into it. And if you're going to do it, you got to make sure you're ready to do it. Right. So the learning curve, the cost associated, and the first thing people are going to see is, well, what's my ROI on this? How long is it going to take me to make my money back? Or, and obviously we want to stay a little bit away from the business side of the business, but it's a business after all.
It is a business.
If you are going to make that investment, you need to know that it's going to somehow pay for itself.
Yeah.
Staffing concerns.
Yeah. Staffing concerns. Who can run the machine?
Yes.
Do I have to run the machine? What happens when it breaks down? So there's a lot of sort of side conversations that need to happen there. So that's sort of where you jump into the conversation. Yeah. But then here we are in 2023, where now there's mills, now there's scanners, now there's printers, all the periphery devices are starting to expand.
Yeah.
And now it becomes more of a question of, what do you want the end result to be?
Right.
So guess who the first person I call is? I call my lab friends and say, hey, here's the end result we're trying to get with this particular clinician. What do we have?
Right. That does mean some very negative things for the laboratory.
Not necessarily.
Well, in terms of volume, right?
Right.
So a large part of the laboratory business is posterior units. And I've heard numbers like
I would
70.
say it's the easiest part of the business.
Sure.
However, what I always talk about in my lectures is the digital trap.
Yeah.
And the digital trap is that there's an assumption that just because something is digital, that it's always going to be perfect.
Right.
And that's not true, because every piece of equipment, like you say, the scanner, the mill, the printer, nothing is perfect, and still requires a human brain, a qualified human brain, to finish that, to have proper clinical acceptance.
David, I know you're being
He's foaming at the mouth.
He's ready to say something.
He's foaming at the mouth.
You're being very patient right now. What are your
I
thoughts?
threw you so many good provocative things in my statements there. I'm like,
Didn't cut anybody
on
off.
something.
I'm probably one of the main front people communicating with most dentists at the lab. And, I've heard all the things, and you mentioned it. It's been touched on here. First of all, the best quality thing for the patient. I mean, that's if we're all talking about, and look where how it's evolved from amalgams to composites to who knows what's the next thing there. Okay.
Some sort of ceramic.
And we know,
ceramic,
we know that ultimately, I truly believe the best inlay you could make for a person is a gold inlay. There is no better inlay or onlay for that's conservative tooth dentistry and or durability, wear, all those things. Okay?
And that material will outlive the tooth.
Yes.
The
100%.
tooth will die before the restoration.
There's a huge material conversation involved with all this.
I mean, that's just the one aspect that I think we're going to look in. I'll put it in perspective, what we're dealing with chairside mill or lab fabricated. If all these things are done properly with a trained technician, you can achieve those same superior results, whether it's a chairside mill or a lab mill. But what we see, that is not the case for the majority of the time. It's an untrained CDA that is being retrained into a technician's role. And we know the challenges in keeping staff in an office, period. Mm-hmm. I've never heard a bigger changeover of staff changeover in the last 2 years for dentists.
And that's whether it's privately owned or a DSO owned or whatever.
No matter what, okay?
Staff turnover is huge.
And And what I think we want to make sure that we really highlight today is that, there are professionals, dentists, that are extremely skilled and have a technician touch. But our argument is, why are you doing something that is a low value job widget to make when you could spend so much more time being productive in surgery? Now, and I think that's the part that we struggle with as dental labs.
Well, I just think, Dave, as a business point of view, our golden rule when we entered into this profession was, Dad said, a surgeon should be making 4 to 5 times in billable dollar value than whatever they pay the lab.
Mm-hmm.
So just a simple business concept.
Right.
I would rather spend my time making 4 to 5 times something than doing that.
100%.
So one thing that I don't think you touched on motivations. So
Yeah.
from your perspective, Tyler, what is the top 3 motivations for a clinician to get into chairside?
It's a good question. Peers is a big one.
Peers,
saying, "Hey, I did it. You should consider it."
Sure.
But I think the other one is that patients are asking. They come in saying, "I want same day dentistry."
They are.
Yeah.
Is that for real? Yeah.
For real, yeah. So patients are saying
real.
they heard from a friend that they said, "Hey, I could get a crown scanned and designed and milled in the same day, and I was done. I didn't have to come back for that second appointment." So I think that the market is getting more educated. Patients out there understand that they know that if the dentist prescribes a crown, they know that they can leave with it that day.
Sure.
So that's number 2. So peers number 1, and then probably like peers number 1. Patients is probably like neck and neck with peers. Like peers encouraging them to do it. The other one was like there isn't again an ROI factor. There is an idea out there that, hey, the convenience and the ease of it is right there. It's going to be, and I use this word.
This is where it gets
carefully.
Really
I say there's a
nervous.
perception that this machine is going to create the prosthetic for you. Now, I've been in this game long enough to know the pitfalls and challenges that come along with chairside scanning and milling. It is not an easy thing to pick up.
No, that's what James touches on. And
going back
Digital
to
trap.
that's right.
to what David says about, it's really the operator, right? And I think that the market is extremely challenged when it comes to putting a piece of equipment like a chairside scanner mill in the office, because you're experiencing higher turnover in 2023 than you were in 2015.
Yeah.
Is that person going to stick around? They're really trying. They're like the whole market, and this is like North America wide.
100%.
Everybody's struggling with getting people to work for them.
Yeah.
So you're running a risk that, and not only that, but even if you do have qualified staff that have been with you for a long time, there's another hurdle is to get that staff that's been doing dentistry one way for a certain amount of time, getting them to now take on that technology. It's intimidating. It's a challenging task to take on.
This is something that you and I take on with Dentists on Demand, and just getting their front end workflows ticking and booing, right? Like being a successful business and making sure folks are coming back. It seems like in the clinic their hands are full.
Well, their hands are full, and I have to remain agnostic, right?
Sure.
And again, we have to go back to the, when the dentist says to the patient, what do you want the end result to be? I have to say to the dentist or to my lab partners to say, what do we want the end result to be? You guys call me up and say, I want a printer. I'm like, well, what do you want a printer? What do we want?
What do you want to do with it?
What do I want to do with a printer?
Right. And there are some clinics that are kicking butt with the CEREC machine or chairside milling. Like they are
For certain indications.
Exactly. Right.
But there's a ton of guys out there that have guys and girls that have CERECs out there that pumping out tons of crowns. Guess what? More of their work is going to the lab than they're getting out of that machine.
Right.
So again, I think that the two worlds kind of exist at the same time.
Yeah.
That's where I might, add a little controversy, Trevor. I don't see
Trevor.
that.
Tyler.
You added a controversy.
I'm sorry, Tyler. I hear that, and there is a very small percentage of dentists that we've seen that have acquired those, and there's just as much work going to laboratories, because what I see happening is their focus, because they've seen this massive investment they'd have had to make for this,
System.
chairside milling system. And in the back of their minds, they're thinking, I got to make this.
I got to make that
I got to
payment.
make this pay.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And that's where, I think, getting back to the original thing that you were just saying, what are the big buying motives that doctors are looking for with that? I think for sure it was the same day appeal, 100%.
That was the emotional buy-in.
That was the emotional buy-in, that it's easy to sell or say to a patient, they need a restoration. We can do it like, I got time, we can do it right now. Okay. And what we're so excited to launch and really announce at PDC is we have the same option without having to make that massive capital investment. We've created a cyber crown. And a cyber crown basically is anyone who has a digital scanner, anyone, whether it's Prime Scan,
Trios, Itero,
doesn't matter which one it is. If you are in the lower mainland, we can have a crown same day to you. That's a zirconia crown without an investment at all, without staffing issues.
That's number one on the list.
So that's what we're here to make sure that everyone is aware of and see the advantages, because if we look at managing quality and end product, we know for sure as a lab we can deliver the highest strength all ceramic posterior crown zirconia. Okay, Emax can be done too, but it just we'll call it the clencher zone, the first and second molars. There's just, you want to err to the greater strength. And we already know that, I just got the latest statistics from Dentsply, that the highest flexural strength of anything chairside mill is 1,000 megapascals. Okay, highest that they got. Ours we know to be true is 1,200. Now, is that a huge thing? No, but it's significant. And you don't have to make the investment for a superior. If we're talking about the end result, giving a patient a superior product, that's where we're trying to say, look, for posteriors, we have the answer. We got, without making that massive capital investment, you can get same day or next day, even if you're out of town. Anywhere in BC, you can get it next day if you have a scanner, and needless to say, you're going to have the level of quality that you're used to. So that I want to make sure that everyone that's what this, 1, 2, 3 punch was to
I'm
be.
agnostic, let's not forget.
Yeah, exactly. We just want to make sure that and we're not the only lab that does that. Okay. I want to be totally open about that.
Other labs are capable of doing that.
They're capable of doing that.
Most up-to-date labs in the digital world are perfectly capable of doing a similar type of service.
So here's a good segue into. So
I have questions about this.
Okay, yeah.
Are we
go
going
for
to
it.
change that a bit? I want to make sure we
let's
keep that
let's
train of
cover
thought.
this first. Yeah.
Okay, so cyber crown. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is? Like, how does that work? So if I'm a dentist or Mark's a dentist, we got a case come in. We're like, okay, I'm going to scan this. Like, how quickly does it come back? Like,
so basically, if you, like I said, if you're in the lower mainland, okay, we basically can serve from Chilliwack to Vancouver. We're right in the middle of those
For
landmarks. Same day. Okay, so if we get a scan before 10 o'clock, give or take, okay, we can have delivered to the office that afternoon a finished crown for cementation.
That's a game changer.
I think that's pretty amazing.
That's totally amazing.
And that's what I think we're trying to get that word out there, because dentists are making decisions, like massive buying decisions, without actually knowing how fast labs are growing their service too.
Yeah.
To trust me, we're rolling up our sleeves.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that if someone's going to make that decision to do a chairside mill, that they 100% know that they're doing something like that, spending that kind of investment in time and money and or staff power, when we can give them the same result with a ceramist that is finishing that, and we're shooting that to their office.
Yeah.
That's awesome. One of the sort of over time, I think this has changed. So like zirconia, for example.
Correct.
Can you do same day zirconia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's incredible, because I know
It
they got
is.
the speed fire
There's-
now, right, which goes a lot faster.
Sure.
Yeah. So
And that's the thing where I wanted to comment on that for a lab that wants to be in the digital game of, say, competing with the same day service of a system in the office, the technology is there for a lab to feasibly invest in that and offer that same service.
So for us, same day, I was teasing with you, is passe for us. Like it really is not the biggest selling feature for a chairside mill any longer. And that's what, like, I just wanted to make sure, if that is one of the biggest attributes, you know, when we first, in the 80s, we had doctors come to us and say, yeah, I had to get a CEREC mill. I'm out of town. I have patients that come in. They're here for one day. We got to have a system that can put a tooth.
Especially doctors in the north.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Throughout
right,
the BC area, their hands are tied. They got to treat their patients. We get that, okay?
Right.
We're not thinking that, naive and thinking that, you know, that can't be done, and it's the best service at the level for where the patient's at, okay? But, you know, for those that are in the greater Vancouver area, or even BC, we have a few clients throughout the Okanagan that are getting next day restorations from us.
yeah.
Like,
Well, I
that's
think-
incredible.
I just think it's wild. Like, we want things the same day, and it's going to be in our mouth for
Like
30
Amazon.
years.
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
so the other thing that we haven't really mentioned yet is that, like, you guys have invested a lot in resources in this facility. You've got machines in every room.
Oh,
You've
yeah,
got
it's-
printers. You've got mills. You got you name it.
and the
So-
people.
So not only that, but it's like this clinician's making a one-time investment in a machine. Now, again, I'm agnostic. I'm not picking one side or the
100%.
other. I'm
That's
saying
where-
Yeah.
this machine might not be super. It might be obsolete in a few years. But what the end user, the patient, the dentist can rely on is that you guys, and we just proved this. Up until about 2 or 3 years ago, zirconia was a next day service no matter what, because it was an 8-hour sintering cycle for the longest time.
I got
right?
the perfect answer for your comment.
Okay.
Okay. The technology of sintering zirconia with, say, these speed fire systems, it's kind of like cooking a turkey in a microwave.
Right.
Okay. So the strong, if you want to maximize the strength out of any zirconia, it has to have a longer cycle. There are shorter cycles, but it does have a compromise on strength of the material.
Right.
The question is it clinically relevant or
Right.
not?
like the 1,000 megapascal or the 1,200 megapascal.
Exactly. So
It's,
it's not. It all depends on the clinical situation.
Right.
Okay.
But my overarching comment
Yes.
with what I was saying there was that your clients can rest assured that you guys are investing in the latest technology
Oh, yeah.
and you are changing ahead of the curve.
We're trying.
And I-
we're really
That's
trying.
what we've always done.
At the end of the day, and we were discussing this before we started, is, you know, there might be some fantastic clinicians out there that
Absolutely.
they've mastered it, and that's fantastic. I think at the end of the day, a tool is a tool, right? You got to think where the skill is, the people are, and if you have that team in your clinic that can facilitate that, then
You know, Mark,
But further to that, Mark, the big thing, and this is a big point that Dave and I really want to drive home to the dental community, and that is, you know what? There's nothing wrong with anybody that's qualified to invest in systems, but you know what? We're all held to a standard as dental technicians to deliver certain restorations at a certain quality level that matches our qualifications. And the controversy out there is that is not happening sometimes
sure.
in clinic.
yeah,
Right.
And our big thing is, you know what? Everybody has the entrepreneurial right to invest in systems.
Yeah.
But we really feel that qualified RDTs should be finishing those restorations if they're going into a patient's mouth with the ultimate standard of care that everybody's striving for.
and that was the original model that the whole, you know, with the College of Dental Surgeons, the original model was why it was a trade in the first place. RDTs were created just for that reason.
Well, here's an interesting thought too, is public education. Like, you know, I don't know how many folks I I talk to where I tell them that, hey, I'm heading into Ocean Ceramics today. We're working on what is a dental laboratory? Like
Don't even know.
They're not
100%.
So my question is, if the patient was aware that there was these choices, would that influence their decision on which dentist they go see?
Our association, College of Dental Technicians, major fail on that level for making awareness to the public. 100%.
Really?
We've basically relied on the government to enforce that. Well, you know how far that's going to go.
So do you think that should change then? Do you think there should be more education of the public?
There's been talk about that. It's definitely been talked about.
For sure, because patients at the end of the day, I hear this day in, day out, that they literally trust their dentist, their physician. Like,
hey, the denturists are doing the denturists are doing it.
Yeah,
they've got advertisements on Global right now. They've got some public awareness things happening.
That's fantastic. But we haven't. You've never seen that for an RDT.
Would that be something that the collective?
We've had
RDTs
those discussions at the board level.
Yeah, and that would probably be like more, yearly premium type situation where people are pooling in.
I mean, I think it's a great idea.
One of my goals with serving on the Dental Technician Association board has been building brand awareness for RDTs in the marketplace, so that not only for new people coming into the profession, but also more to the importance of having those qualifications to dentists and, of course, to the public to complete the circle.
Well, maybe that might be a case of, making them aware of these products and services within the laboratory.
Yeah.
And with that being said, we have a special guest that...
Are we all still friends, guys?
We're friends.
We're still friends. We love you, Tyler.
Cheers to that. Yeah. Cheers to that. we all got to get along in this.
So joining us is Ed Mclaren, and we have to apologize. He's in mountain time, so we
dragged him out of his schedule.
He's waited an extra hour
Thanks,
for us.
Ed.
Thanks for joining us. So
thanks for being on our show.
No worries. No worries.
We're having a
broadcast studio there.
Yeah, it's the Ocean Ceramics Laboratory Education Center.
Wow.
Yeah. So Ed, we've just been debating the digital world. We're talking about the pros and cons of chairside milling versus having your restorations completed in a laboratory. So you're kind of joining us at the tail end of our banter. And I've tried to stay agnostic on both sides of it here. Obviously, David and James are great friends of mine and clients, but we have sort of batted it back and forth a little bit. It'd be really interesting to get your take on the state of the world in terms of milling versus where things are in the laboratory right now.
In terms of chairside.
Yeah, and Ed, I just remember years ago, it was probably 8 or 10 years ago, you were speaking at Quintessence about you guys were already doing same-day crowns with layered ceramics and how you guys were doing that, competing against the China competition at that time. But things have evolved a lot more. And so what would your take be on where we're at today?
Okay, great. First of all, are we live?
We're live.
We are live, yes.
Oh, okay, great. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, that whole concept started with Lee Kolpenheim. Many of you know Lee. Because, God, we conceptualized that in 2006, back when he was with Sirona, or even before it was called Sirona. Some other big company's name escapes me right now. The concept of what we call, I guess, the digital dental team. I mean, taking all of the technologies, the people, the systems, and put it into our best possible result. I appreciate the concept of same-day dentistry from the outset. But the problem that I've seen, and I still see, is that the quality is not at the level, let's say most of the time, I don't want to say all the time, that we can create with somebody that's technically trained and that knows how to finish a restoration, knows all the little nuances of form and texture and finish. And, I get also it depends on really what the end user wants. Do they want to, just an out-of-the-box, off-the-rack suit or something, or do they want something that has a little bit of customization and fits to their person and their personality? So that was the original concept, because what I saw, and actually still see today, this is back in 2006, that most of the people that bought CEREC machines, yeah, I get it, love the technology and love the concept of same-day dentistry, but it actually became a pretty expensive coat rack for a lot of people. That no, seriously, and I still see that today. Okay, that how the system's marketed, the concept of the marketing of the system, I get it, but the reality is what comes out of the machine isn't finished. I mean, it's way better than it was in 2006. I would grant you that, but it still needs, 10 or 20% finishing. What I like to call the human touch or the final
love.
touch. However, we want to language that. And in fact, just to piggyback this discussion, that is a main topic or one of my 2 lectures coming up this weekend at the Pacific Dental Conference. I call it the digital dental team and where it's evolved to today. And the interesting point is that if you really pull dentists, I know a lot of dentists that have it and really like it, but they aren't doing 6 or 8 anterior teeth because they realize that they want to prep and cement. Most dentists really just want to prep and cement. They want to play dentist. And what they want is same-day dentistry or quick turnaround as possible. And I appreciate that. But, with the digital technologies today, the ability to scan, the ability to treatment plan, the better materials we have today, the many material options we have today, that somebody works with a very digitally aware lab that has all the tools and technologies, that is still possible same-day dentistry. Not in 1 hour, but you can't do 6 front teeth in 1 hour on a CEREC. Where a dentist can then prep, upload to a lab, the lab can machine them, and even print a model with two different technologies. Most labs today that are in this space, have all the technologies. They got printers, they've got scanners, they've got multiple machines in their office, so they have the ability to print a model, machine the restorations, turn it over to what I like to call an enamelizer or a ceramic finisher, somebody that really understands how to do that final touch, the final shaping, whether it's just contour and a little color on the surface or contour and polish to give that added touch. And so I conceptualized that whole idea, believe it or not, with Sirona back in 2006, and they were very excited about the concept until they thought they were going to stop selling chairside machines. And my belief is that dentists, yes, we want scanners, we want to be able to digitally capture information, but beyond that, we want to turn it over to the experts that know how to design, know how to machine, know the nuances of working with it, but also could put the final touch on it. Our ceramic colleagues. And I can talk from this perspective because there's an interesting thing is what we've all said about, let's say, criticism. You're allowed to criticize your own kind. And my own kind, I'm a dentist, I'm a prosthodontist, I'm a master ceramist, I also have digital technology, so I can talk from all of those perspectives. And when I put my dentist hat on, I want to do dentistry. I mean, as much as I love playing with machines and playing with ceramics and playing with the stuff, the minute I start blending those into the same time frame, I become fairly unproductive. So I've had to learn myself to compartmentalize well the dentist part of me, the ceramist part of me, the digital lab part of me, to be able to get this result. And so another interesting thing about digital that's come to, I guess, fruition the last few years, I teach a lot for dentists and labs, and I have to tell you, most of my laboratory colleagues now tell me, as excited as they are, they all love the stuff, but they do not like to hire anybody in their digital ecosystem that hasn't had analog experience. Meaning, they might get these young people that play with computers and are experts and all this stuff, but they can't see it in a 3D space.
The foundational piece, yeah.
I was in Enrico Steger's lab, and he's one of the top guys in the space. Zircon's on. Everybody's heard that name. And one day a week, he has his trainers and he has his salespeople. He has anybody that's involved in this process, other than I suppose business people, spend a day a week waxing, which was amazing to me. And
in real size.
Exactly, so they can connect, because ultimately we still have a real product that we have to put in a patient's mouth, and it has to blend in form, function, fit, and aesthetics. And as wonderful as the machines have helped us streamline that process, it's not a finished thing. And so what I see with CEREC, honestly, or any of these chairside systems is something that I would call, let's say, a very good temporary. But I haven't seen too terribly many things that I've just fallen in love with on any level, whether it's perfect fit or whether it's perfect biology and perfect aesthetics, perfect occlusion. It requires somebody that knows how to do that. And so few dentists, they think they want to do it. As you know, I ran 2 programs at UCLA, one for technicians and one for dentists. And all of the dentists, let's say, not all of them, but let's say 90% of the dentists when they came through wanted to sit in on the technician programs, thought they wanted to be a ceramist, thought they wanted to do all this stuff. And it was an exciting concept at first, but the minute they sat down and thought, hey, wow, this is like Malcolm Caldwell in The Outlier. You actually need 5,000 hours to learn how to do this. This isn't something you learn in 5 minutes, just like being a good dentist. And so, yes, I love the concept of the technology, but I really am very concerned that it's considered a full mouth technology, or it's considered you can do all the smile. Yeah, we can do the smile design. We can do all that stuff, but it's just not finished. And that bothers me.
Does it ever catch up, the technology?
Well, define a little bit more catch up. Yeah, every day the technology is getting better and better.
So catch up to the skill level of say a laboratory.
When that happens, dentists, you better start worrying, because a robot will replace you. When it's that good,
fair.
We won't need the dentist.
That's a great answer.
Seriously.
I like that.
Great answer.
Yeah. So, you need to partner with somebody like Ocean Ceramics, somebody that has the technology. And great. You do it. Somebody breaks a tooth, you do an onlay or something like that for something like that. Great. Or maybe design your temporary for implant or help you with surgery. I think it's wonderful for that. Okay. I just finished a case Sunday, by the way. I have very strange hours. Cemented 10 restorations on the cousin of a dentist that's a Spear disciple, a CERAC. CERACdoctors.com, and great, had nothing wonderful but wonderful stuff to say, okay? But she has a CERAC, and I asked her how much to use it. So, well, I got it, and I wanted to do smile design, and I found that I didn't know how to shape teeth. Gee, go figure, okay? and it's like, okay, so I said, what do you really use it for today? Exactly what I just said. Okay, I'm designing a temporary, or I'm designing an abutment or something like that, but I'm still going back to my lab to get that A+ aesthetics, the A+ finished result.
Hey, Ed, I got a question for you when you're ready.
Sure.
Okay. Have you noticed with people you've spoken to how long it takes before it becomes a coat rack? Is there usually somebody buys a system over a 4 or 5 year term, are they hanging it up after a year or 2 or 3? What have you seen? What's the transition to the coat rack?
I am sure I'll get myself in trouble, but the nice thing about getting older and being over 60 now,
you don't care.
Right? Great. And there's Henry Ford. I love one of his famous comments. He said, I don't care what they're saying about me as long as they keep talking. I need to. But the other thing is, sometimes the truth hurts, right? Sometimes you got to slap the truth in people's face to be honest, without being. So I would say, probably 25-30% of the dentists fully take advantage of the technology, and about 70% don't. Okay, and I would probably say a third of them end up being very expensive office furniture. Okay, and now, is that CERAC's fault? No, not necessarily. No. Okay, but it's really the dentist's fault for not really paying attention to what they are capable of doing and what they're capable of implementing. And we're all guilty of that. We all have expensive toys around it that we haven't fully used.
For sure.
So I was going to add something, but I came in and it went right out the other side. And I'm sure it'll come to me.
The 60-year-old thing.
I like your point about the limitations of the technology, and doing your homework ahead of time to make sure you have a full understanding of what the machine's capable of and what it isn't.
And what it requires to make it work.
Yeah. And the point that that goes across the board for any technology. I'm sure there's all sorts of things out there that we've all invested in that we're not fully utilizing to its full, what the manufacturer specified it was supposed to be capable of.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Just like buying stereo equipment or anything, we end up using 10 or 20% of it. It's the same thing. But there's no way a dentist can keep up and afford, maybe it's a giant group with the technology as it's evolving, okay, and how quickly where a lab can. That's their job. That's what they do, okay, and they can turn it over and make a nice return on investment. I read a book a long time ago. It was in 1990. It was called The Theory and Practice of Economic Alchemy. Robert Zane Pilzer was, I believe, the name, and he was an economist, and he wrote a book talking about new technology. So what is this, 33 years ago now? And it was fascinating because one of the things that he dealt with is how should you look at technology as a return on investment? And he said this in 1990, and I think it's more true today. He said, if you can't pay for the technology in 1 year, it's 100% paid off. You might finance it for 5 years, 10 years, but the return on investment, it's more than paid off in 1 year. It's a bad investment. It's a bad investment.
I have a question.
If you buy $150,000 technology, you better generate more than $150,000 business in 1 year to justify it. Here was the finishing thought on this. He said, because in 2 or 3 years, there's going to be a brand new, better technology.
Sure.
And you really should be able to move in that space. And if you haven't paid for it, you won't. Hold on, let me turn my phone on.
I love the ringtone.
Hey, Sandy, can I call you back? I'm actually online doing an interview. Okay? All right, bye. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Is that Sandy?
Okay. Yeah, that was Sandy.
No, Ed, I was just going to ask you, one of the things that I try to explain to doctors, like we try to help them put things in perspective and being profitable in their practice, okay? And we just don't understand why a dentist would spend an hour plus. You get your appointment for your prep, okay? It's just called a single unit crown. Call it an hour, 2 units a time.
Right.
And then, the patient's got to sit in the chair for another hour, possibly more, to wait till that gets done. And I realize the dentist probably goes back and, does another procedure somewhere else. But can you support the concept that we always try to tell docs, look, you make your money doing surgery, not making a widget. Is there some validity? Please tell me that makes sense. I mean, wouldn't you rather do multiple surgical procedures than spend your knowledge and time making a widget, a crown or onlay or whatever?
Well, here's where I would argue for a CERAC in that context of how you presented that. I think a dentist that got a good practice, a decent patient flow, if they wanted to bring in an associate, okay, and then that's what the associate did to help build their practice, okay, marketing 1 or 2 hour dentistry, but in the context of how I just described it, it's a broken down tooth that they don't have time, and they look at it. I mean, I don't think you'd language long-term temporary, but that's kind of how I would language it, and that this dentist, associate dentist, had the time to finish it, stain and glaze it, and make it, at least what we would consider acceptable, or we'd give a grade of a C, let's say, in our typical A, B, C, D, F system, okay? Mm-hmm. So in that environment, I'm okay with that. But it does not at all make sense to me for a busy dentist that has a good practice to do exactly what you just said. Yeah. Sit around for a machine, wait for a machine, because theoretically you could do the same thing. You could scan it, assuming, let's say, Ocean, your lab is 10, 15, 20-minute drive away. You could upload it to their machine. They design it. They machine it. They all know all the little problems, okay? I gotta take away off a little bit here. I gotta overbuild it here. Here's where it's undercut. They know how to deal with those things. Okay. Yeah. They machine it. They stain and glaze it, and they deliver it 2, 3, 4, 5 hours later. So the big deal. The patient goes to work and comes in the afternoon.
Yeah. That's our model of a cyber crown. We're major launching this at the Pacific Dental Conference. That service.
Yeah. I think that's a great service, and I think as more labs operate in that space, I think you're going to see more coat racks.
Yeah,
expensive coat. Man, I'm thinking, do I have any expensive coat racks at home? I probably do.
No, that's cool.
I know, Ed, you told us you could only give us 10 minutes of your time, and you've gone way over time already. And I know Sandy's on your hit list there, so. But give us a little plug and a little more insights, more than what we see on the PDC write-up of what you're going to be talking about Friday for dentists.
What time?
And well, he's Friday afternoon.
What time?
What time?
Yeah.
Well, that's like 1 o'clock.
1:30 to 4.
Yeah.
So actually, any dentist out there that's interested in digital, number one, interested in aesthetics, interested in materials, interested in these concepts that we're talking about, basically we put it together in a format called the Digital Dental Team. And unfortunately, there was a mistake on my part. My digital partner that I upload to is Jed Archibald. He used to be Gordon Christensen's technician. He did all the stuff for Gordon that he published for years in the digital space. He is co-presenting with me. So we're going to talk about what the dentist should do. We're going to talk about what the materials are available to us. We're going to talk about the preparations that are a little bit different than analog. The interesting thing about digital impressions, okay, or if you're going to do digital processes or preparations, is you actually have to prep a little different than for analog. I mean, I can compensate for analog errors, but I can't. The machine doesn't compensate for some of the prep designs that I might do.
Wow.
So I have to be aware of those kinds of things. Okay. Then we'll talk about material choices. Then we're going to talk about laboratory interactions. Then we'll talk about how to finish the little nuances, the final touch that we're talking about. So that's about 2.5 hours, and it's just jam-packed of information. That'll be Friday. And then on Saturday, I'm speaking at the laboratory meeting, which I'm assuming is at the same place.
Same building.
Yep.
Same building. Jed Archibald again will be with me, and we're calling that the art of what we do. More or less how we either layer. We're going to obviously, since we're talking mostly technicians, talk a little bit about micro layering ceramics. We'll talk about surface color. We'll talk about internal color, how to create internal color in zirconia. We'll also talk about material options and things like that. So it'll be a little more focused for the lab, but dentists that are interested in understanding the laboratory processes and understanding the finish processes, it's a very good course too.
Fantastic.
Outstanding.
Can't wait.
I'm jacked. I can't
Yeah.
wait. And I can't wait to have a little glass of wine with you
Yep.
too.
That's fantastic.
So, but hey, and just in recognition, I know the PDC is sponsoring a lot of your you and Jed coming up together, but I do want to recognize also the companies like Arjun and Curion, who are also stepped up to the plate to bring you guys to town. And
Okay.
so and I know the Dental Technician Association of BC, we let all our members know that you guys are coming to town. We're letting everybody know you're coming. You guys are coming to town. So
Start me up.
one of the goals that we wanted to really achieve tonight is that people really have a clear understanding of how they can really suck and absorb whatever they can out of you guys. And you're probably going to go home like zombies after BC's done with you.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, we'll see you guys Friday then. We all good?
Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you.
Ed.
It's been
Thanks a
great-
lot, my man.
It's been great listening to you talk. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Love
Thank
it.
you, Ed.
All righty.
See you on Thursday.
Yeah.
Friday.
Friday.
My bad.
And Saturday.
Friday.
And that's it. He's out.
It's okay, Tyrell.
Tyler.
Travis.
Tyrone.
Tyrell gets it all the time.
My brother-in-law, his name is Travis, and the ongoing joke, my father-in-law always calls him Trevor. So
Trevor, yeah.
there you
I get Trevor.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention where Ocean Ceramics is located.
Hey, that's a nice piece. Who put that together?
I don't know.
Genius.
Some guy. I don't know. Booth number 451.
451.
Do not miss Ocean Ceramics on
You can't
Thursday.
miss them though.
They're hard, well, I mean,
they're hard
honestly,
to miss.
how do you miss a guy like the guy that's sitting next to me here?
Elvis will be in the house.
We
Just
need
look for the
silver.
jacket.
We need some silver here.
And also, your son will kill me if I don't mention.
Yes.
He won't. He's nice.
He's nice.
Great deal going on. Send 5 cases and receive a $500 Amazon gift card. Like,
Yeah. Maybe 5 cyber crowns.
There
Easy
you go.
peasy,
Yeah.
right? You do that in
we're
1
talking.
week.
Also,
Or
this,
night guards.
this is what, like, I want to know if I'm
Is that a Yeti?
if I can
Come on.
enter this here.
Yes.
Can sales reps win this?
It will be full of booze, too, just so you know.
Maybe I need to become a dentist. So make sure you get to the Ocean Ceramics booth.
Yeah.
Scan this QR code right now. and that will get you started.
Cool.
So hold on. If somebody's at home watching this, they can scan the QR
They
code
can
right
scan
now.
that baby right now.
And where does that take them to, Mark?
That's going to take them right to here, where they
You
can
can get the Yeti.
sign up for
Yeah.
the promo.
And we
Awesome.
will be drawing that on the Friday afternoon, that Yeti. Okay.
Awesome.
Actually, you know what? I just had this brainwave idea.
Brainwave.
I think I'm going to ask Ed to pull.
That'll make it
that's a good
legit.
idea.
Pull the name
great
out.
idea.
Okay.
I thought I'd just go like this and pick my favorite guy.
Yeah, of course.
Are there any other booths you want to spotlight on your phone?
Well, I don't know. Is there anybody else that we know that's there?
Well,
Somebody else might have a booth
No,
there.
we own the whole floor.
Henry.
No. Well, yeah, Henry Schein, of course. But
If you
might see,
if you want to come say hello to a couple dingleberries, we're going to be at booth 1931.
Yeah, Dentist on Demand. You guys have a booth,
Yeah.
Dennis
don't
on
you?
Demand is going
This
to have
our,
its first booth
our,
at the
our
PDC.
very first. You can come talk to us about ocean ceramics
Yeah,
too.
what's your door price there?
We don't. We're going to send them to you guys.
Send them to you guys for the prize.
Hey, you guys want a good prize?
We'll send them over to Richard
We
Nixon.
know
They're going to have the
good friend of
best
Arjun.
bowl of mints in the whole exhibit.
Hey, you know what? Well, you can't beat a bowl of mints.
Hey, hold
Bowl
on.
of
So we did get a question during the show. Do you
We
guys want me
did.
to read it?
What?
Yes.
You know Devin
Someone's
Fraser?
watching this?
Do you know Devin Fraser?
Devin Fraser.
Devin Fraser?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want me to, I can ask his question if you want.
Yeah, I'm hosting Devon on Saturday.
Devon.
Devon.
Is it Devon or Devon?
Well, everyone I know calls him Devon.
It's
I think
Trevor.
he calls himself Devon.
It's Trevor.
It's spelled Devon. Devon, can you put in the comments, is it Devon or Devon? I think it's Devon. I know Devon. It's Devon.
What's the
Yeah.
question?
That was the question, man.
Wonder if James's jacket would fit me.
Hey, is that going to be in
You
the?
can try it on.
Is that going to be in the Yeti? Maybe. Right?
Maybe that'll be a surprise. Will the jacket be
There's
in
very
the
few
Yeti?
people I let wear my jacket, but Devon will definitely
Devon.
he qualifies.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Devon's a
Um,
great guy. A good friend.
David, I'm going to pass it to you. You got
Yes, please.
any
Trainer.
words of wisdom? Anything to close this off? After hearing all of this information, any final
at
thoughts?
the end of the day, what we see as a lab, we know that there's a lot of dental offices that are just making it by right now.
True.
Like, I get that feedback a lot.
Yeah.
And, there's some that are spiking. Some are like, they're harboring losses for a couple months, right? And what we want to do is we want to make sure you guys know that we have some crazy ways for you to be more productive through CE. Okay, so you can do less and larger comprehensive treatment plans. And that's our Dentifor model. Okay, we'll be talking about that down there. And one of the coolest ones is our lost art of removable dentures with precision attachments. Okay.
Oh, wow.
A lot of patients, if you've got 6 or 8 implants that are missing, 6 or 8 teeth that are missing, if you restore that with 6 or 8 implants, we know you're at 25, 30K, maybe more,
Right.
okay, on a good day. So a lot of patients, we know that's the best standard of care, okay? Don't misunderstand me, but you have to meet a patient where they're at, and we have a solution to do that with precision attachments, no clasps, okay, on a partial, and clinician fee, lab fee, all in for $5,000, restoring those 6 to 8 teeth, okay?
Wow.
Now, that's a deal breaker for a lot of people from either going to getting, the perceived partial that is like, it's not nice, okay? You got these big metal clasps everywhere, and which we're also going to be having coming up very shortly, a Zoom course that will really teach clinicians
That's the case right there.
how to do these kind of cases. Yeah, that's just precision attachments off there, and we got a gazillion pictures of
All sorts of
crazy
variations.
before and afters.
So one thing that Trevor and I really dig into is scope of practice.
keep talking, Mike.
And we talked about this. We want our clinicians to be in that chair, doing their thing.
Or dentistry.
Yeah. So no,
And
that's
being
awesome.
more profitable at what they're doing.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we want to be your partner in that. That's
Awesome.
all. And
So do we.
for if there are denturists or technicians out there that don't have a really consistent removable partial denture service, a lot of them don't know that we actually have that and provide that for techs and or denturists also. So we've come a long ways. Like we've evolved to a full service lab.
Yeah, we're now doing cases for other labs and offering support.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, look at this place. It's gorgeous.
You have the capacity for it, and it's where you have to go, right? You guys have the brain trust here. You have the education. You have so many great resources here to go where you're going, like what you just said. And
it all comes back to that, like, you know, if you don't have a strong connection and relationship with your laboratory. It was funny. I saw this clinician post that to connect with your dental colleagues, other dentists out there, and I chimed in and said, make sure that you're also
your lab guy.
You're also connecting with your lab guy.
Heck
because
or lady.
Or that.
Lots of fantastic lab ladies out there.
Right. And you know, Mark, in truthfulness, and this is the hardest thing for a lot of labs, is they're really nervous communicating with dentists. They're great handcraft stuff, but they don't always have that comfort level to talk to doctors. I mean, it took us like basically 2 generations of technicians before James and I
develop that.
Yeah. You know, our parents back in the day, they just took shit and basically said they didn't know what to say back other than hang up when someone was yelling.
Maybe that was still the right thing.
Okay, but you know what though? I want to speak to that, and I speak to that from a sales perspective. When I started selling supplies to dentists, you want so badly to make their lives easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what you do is you go in the office and they say, "Hey, get me this," and you just go, "No problem, I will take care of that for you."
Yeah.
And you get in your car and you look down your hand, and you're like, "What the hell is that?"
It's a 330 burr.
I have no idea what this is.
I need this color.
So you spend the next 3 days no sleep trying to find out what this thing is.
That's a mixing tip, right?
Right. It's a mixing tip.
Because there's about 1,000 different mixing tips.
I find this crisis of meaning moment where you're like, why did I not just stop and say, can you just tell me what you use this for? Or just give me one tidbit of information to help me find the answer.
Or one better. Do you have a code number on this?
And I think about that from a technician's perspective, that you desperately want to make their lives so much easier.
Exactly.
That you gloss over just getting that little bit of information to say, I just need a little more information from you. Then I can make your life easier.
Yeah, we don't want to be a concession machine, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And that's what a lot of docs view labs as, is a concession machine. Let's just drop that prescription, see what comes out.
Yeah, do your best.
Yeah, we want to be way more active.
Further to what my brother was saying, you know, as far as how we had to learn over a couple generations, our family, on communications within our profession. That's a big part of what I'll be talking about on Saturday with my talk. I only got 90 minutes.
That's right. So you're on Saturday. What time on Saturday?
11 o'clock.
We'll be in the back.
So I'm
heckling
before Ed. There's other speakers too.
I'm gonna have a bottle of a wild turkey in my hand, standing at the back.
Bring Maker's Mark.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't drink wild turkey.
Maker's Mark. Okay.
Well, we should. Sorry.
But yeah, I was just going to promote a few. Like Devon Fraser's doing a talk on the whole digital thing, how to coordinate with doctors digitally. Heard him speak before. Another lady, Michelle Glover, she's going to be talking about the digital denture game.
Nice.
But one of the things when we were talking about arranging speakers for, some of us from the association were asked to help out on picking speakers. For the Saturday, for the lab component, was we really wanted to push the quality of nature. You know, when we go through this digital journey, and Ed was speaking to that also, there's a loss of nature sometimes that requires a human touch.
Yeah,
there's no AI or there's no machine that knows how to incorporate nature, God-created nature, into teeth. For a human being.
Yeah.
So, once again, nobody's a robot. So one of the things I talk about is really how to interview a patient, how to extract their vision, leverage some simple photography, whether it's with your phone or an SLR, how to incorporate that into your work. And that's whether you're doing a hybrid, a denture, anything. That's why I call it the quest for nature.
Awesome.
And I just want to teach people.
Nice title.
Yeah, so that's why I just want to help teach people that, you know, we're creating nature for human beings because we're not concession machines like Dave is saying. We're creating teeth to create new people.
Love it. All right. Well, with that, I
I will
can't
be
wait
there.
to see
I can't wait.
everyone at the
Yeah.
PDC.
It's gonna be
It's
super fun.
since 2020, so it'll be nice
Yes,
to
come
meet
on
each
out.
other. Come to our collective booths.
So
and,
before we
this
sign off, can we touch base on just on the dates and times again of lectures? So
yes,
we've got Ed on Friday.
on Friday, 1:30, 1 o'clock.
Ed's at, I
He said
thought it was
1:30.
1.
1 o'clock. We're going to say 1.
It's in the
Yeah,
program,
stay
but
safe, Juan.
but Ed is
program,
like
yeah.
the headliner, and I gotta say, I gotta plug. Ed just doesn't give a lecture.
Yeah.
He gives a theatrical experience.
Yeah, it's
I can
good.
tell this by listening to him talk. He's
Well,
gonna
go-
be
You
great.
know, Ed.
Go check some of his stuff out on
Oh
YouTube.
yeah,
It's
and,
really good.
you know Ed just during COVID, he was actually filming his latest production in Egypt with the pyramids in the background.
No kidding.
Oh yeah,
That's
and
wild.
he's
Oh, I gotta-
got a James Bond theme going.
Yeah.
So, like I say, you're learning more
Yeah, it's
than
a super
just
show.
about dentistry.
education.
So he's also a videographer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He's a presenter. He's a showman.
Multi-talented fellas.
Pretty sure he produced Star Wars.
yeah.
Well, he had it. I saw that's the
Ceramic Wars.
ceramic wars.
But
And then-
also, so then on Saturday, there's several lab lectures like Devon, Michelle Glover, myself, my other buddy Will Varda, as we're talking about 3-shape tips and tricks. And then those are the morning
Will.
lectures
Will
of
Varda.
Saturday.
We know Will.
North Van.
Just did a case with Will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then but Ed will be closing out Saturday as the headliner for the entire afternoon on Saturday.
Oh, fun. I can't wait, man. It's going to
Yeah.
be good to see everybody's face again.
Yeah.
Yeah, a live
Absolutely.
face, not
Yeah,
a
yeah.
Zoom
Looking
face.
forward.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
Let's do this again. It's nice to get you in front of the
Yes.
camera here, David.
Thanks. It was
And,
fun.
Thanks for the fun banter.
That's all for now, I guess.
If you stuck around this long, thank you so much for hanging out of this exciting
This is where you look at the camera.
dental
This is where we looked at.
bites. We're calling this the Dentist on Demand Dental Bites segment with David and James Newber here at Ocean Ceramics.
And Ed Mclaren. Thank you for
Ed
joining
McLaren,
us.
Of course, yeah, thank you. And have a fun time at the PDC.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say.
That's
Mic
it.
drop.
We
Mic
could
drop.
we could always keep things going. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.